on the shore, relentless in the war. The legions in our hearts, shed waters in our balls. The spirit and the flesh, the emotions that arrest. The cerebral will contest, propelling the unrest. Preachers and bandits with means underhanded. The teachers pedantic and lack understanding. So sweep out the sand with the broom in your hand. Stand up, make we burn Babylon. Guess I can give the world to you, the world to you. But the falling of the curtain is for certain. Be careful where you're lurking, demon searching. The spirit and the women fight the battle within. Cause I can give the world to you, the world to you. But the falling of the curtain is for certain. Be careful where you're lurking, demon searching. The spirit and the women fight the battle within. Trembling in the haze with the semblance of a blaze. With gratitude and rage, we touch another page. With delirious delight, impervious to light. This vitality and might encourages the flight. Preachers and bandits with means underhanded. The teachers pedantic and lack understanding. So sweep out the sand with the broom in your hand. Stand up, make we burn Babylon. Guess I can give the world to you, the world to you. But the falling of the curtain is for certain. Be careful where you lurking, demon searching. The spirit and the women fight the battle within. Guess I can give the world to you, the world to you. But the falling of the curtain is for certain. Be careful where you're lurking, demon searching. The spirit and the women fight the battle within. The world to you, but the falling of the curtain is for certain. Be careful where you're lurking, demon searching. The spirit and the women fight the battle within. Cause I can give the world to you, the world to you. But the falling of the curtain is for certain. Be careful where you're lurking, demon searching. The spirit and the women fight the battle within. In the den of iniquity, vicinity no pretty, calamity fi hit we any moment, what a pity. Tomorrow never certain, what dwells behind the curtain. The face of evil lurking, with that shifty eyes averting. It's not a steady bubble, could either pop or topple. Many will fall and stumble, let the dozers gather rubble. From LA to Colorado, Guinea to Burkina Faso, cannons could reach the towers and the troops will storm the castle. I say, run, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. So run, run, come, make we get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. I say, run, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. Lord, run, run, come, make we get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. With the rubble steady rising, and hearts are compromising. Convictions here are stifling, making evil appetizing. The fists are steady forming, and countenance is falling. Defenses are withdrawing, possibilities are falling. In these your circumstances, evil will make advances. Pick up your sword and lances, and be sure to take your stances. Victory is never promised, the battle is upon us. Gather the brave and honest, and the righteous in your corners.
Every day I'm hustling, every day I'm hustling. Ladies and gentlemen, getting on the grind, getting the work done, being a boss, CEO written on the card, on the business card, right? Entrepreneur, right? CEO of soloprenneurship. You are the president, the chairman, Yeah. Anyways, this is an idea, right? That we're not going to challenge because we're all about hustling out here. We're not challenging the premises. What we're asking, Joan, is we're asking, are you built for it? Are you built for it? And how do you know that? But first of all, how are you doing? How are you doing, Joan?
Good, good. Just hustling.
You're out here hustling. You're okay. You're built for this. You're about that life.
Well, it's gonna be interesting, this review because we're gonna. Well, I mean, it seems looking at the videos like, oh, are we stereotyping here, or are we, there's just something in common that these videos have? I don't know. We shall see.
Yeah. And I think you have special insight. You'll be able to tell us. I think you have some special cultural insight into this phenomenon.
I identify with them.
You identify with them
just by looking.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome again to another episode of the review. We're going to be reviewing and in so doing, asking a question about the hustle lifestyle. When you should quit, what it's about, understanding the trade-offs, okay? Understanding that there's an idea of what you're going to get about it, and then there's a reason or get from it. And that's the reality of what you actually do get. And then there's a question of what it takes. And is it worth it? Do you even have what it takes? Let's say you're able to give what it takes, but do you even have what it takes? So, Joan, do you have anything to say a priori, if you will, about any of the videos which we're going to play? Because first of all, we're going to play video from a young lady here whom I believe she quit. She realized the hustle lifestyle was not for her. But when it comes to this topic in general, in terms of the hustle lifestyle, it going too far. Some people saying, hey, Gary Vaynerchuk is out there telling you, oh, it's all about the execution. It's all about the execute what? What are you talking about? These people, like Epstein and child whatever and human trafficking and this and that. And you're telling people to execute. It's like, no, they're screwed. There's no. Anyways, that's another level of critique of that whole thing. But there's a level that says, hey, this is not good for our spirits and our happiness. And then there's another level of, hey, not everybody can be like this, similar to our MLM critique. Any cards you would like to lay on the table, Joe?
I really depends on where you're hustling. I mean, are you hustling for your own dream or are you hustling for someone else's dream? That's where it matters.
Depends on what side of the train tracks you're hustling, says Joan. All right. All right. So fair use, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to go ahead and say, well, I realized the hustle culture was not for me. Realizing the hustle culture is not for you. Again, the question is it for you? Fair use.
Today's video. Regardless of whether you prescribe to hustle culture or not, it's really important to protect your data and identity when you go online. NordVPN is a super easy VPN service to use. NordVPN.
She's hustling, man. She has a sponsorship. She's hustling her YouTube.
She's hustling. Oh, okay. I'm sorry here for the slow.
Use code Mayuko to get a 2-year plan plus 1 additional month.
Maybe I'll use code Mayuko.
Discount. Hey everyone, how's it going? My name is Mayuko, and welcome back to my channel where we talk about tech, career, and life. On another episode of Mayuko talks about stuff that's been on her mind for a while after working in tech, but didn't even really know how to talk about it or even what was really bothering her, but now it's really starting to pour out of her. We're going to talk about my experience working in tech and content creation and its relation to hustle culture. Hustle culture and tech industry feel kind of synonymous to me. Like, by working in tech, you are hustling. Also, as a YouTuber, I feel like it's pretty common for there to be some sort of hustling element to it too. And when I mean hustling or hustling culture, I'm talking about overworking yourself for your job or making money. basically pushing yourself past your limits to reach this sort of capitalist utopia
Fair
or
use.
evolved version of human that doesn't need to eat or sleep or something. And like me, Mayuko, at 28 years old, realized that I don't really prescribe to hustle culture.
Okay, so
First of all, she's in tech. What do you expect? Big tech is taking over the world. Come on now.
go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, so she is hustling in tech. That is her chosen career, right?
Mhm.
But is that her passion? Is that what she loves? Is that where her dream is? And if she doesn't figure that out, then obviously working in that environment isn't going to fulfill her. Is that her
Okay.
dream? Is that her dream to work in tech, working for someone else? Obviously, she's not working for her own company. She's not building her own company. So that's a very different environment you're gonna feel and thrive in,
So,
depending on yeah.
okay, so she she mentioned a couple of things that are that are interesting. Um, she talked about the whole kind of just mentioned capitalism. It's like the lady from the other day just mentioning patriarchy. It's almost like you just got to mention it as part of whatever it is you're going to blame for
Yeah.
a certain level of ineptitude or your lack of seeing at a certain point. It's almost like you were driving in the wrong direction. Anyways, so the point is, I think that the fact that she did not point it immediately at herself and say, "Hey, I just realized this is what my passion is." In other words, the fact that this video is not all about, "Oh, I just found out what I would like to hustle for," is already suspicious because it's going to get into something now, which is called the hustle culture, right? And it's going to find why it's problematic and why it's this and why it's that. Meanwhile,
Ah,
the hustle culture is a conglomeration, number one, of marketing by companies to get you to come work for them, right? Let's say
right.
the whole, "Oh yeah, go over here at Google. We have, you can live in our campus and we have hot showers and cold breakfasts, whatever, whatever it may be." And so on and so forth. But we get things done with team spirit, and then it's all designed to it's all part of that hustle thing. Everybody's got a laptop everywhere, and everyone's got a phone everywhere. Therefore, you can always be working all the time. Like, so it's kind of, but to kind of blame that for the fact that you did not realize that that is what you wanted. In other words, it's like, if that's not what you wanted, then why did you go down there in the first place? Make sense?
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, yeah, it's kind of common that like Asians go into tech. I mean, I've had roommates that were going to school for anything tech related, and yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised that an Asian girl is making a video ranting about that. But the thing is, with this hustle culture, I mean, hustling has always been a thing. Now they
Mhm.
label it as a culture. All of a sudden, it's toxic and negative and bad for you. But hustling has always been a thing. It's been around forever. It's not like it's now a thing.
Okay, so let's go ahead and I would say let's lay certain things down. Okay, perhaps we should do that. Um, Shout out, ladies and gentlemen, in the chat. Shout out to Eisen in the house. And the question is hard work, right? Which this hustling thing is about, right? Or the primacy of work, and it goes beyond just the fact that it gets things done. It's almost a working as a means of salvation thing, and that may be an extreme form, but perhaps not an extreme way of looking at it. In other words, it looks at work as simply not just being about the achievement of ends and so on and so forth, but as a way of self improvement, as a way of getting that self esteem, as a way of actually being someone, right?
Mhm.
That's why you go to the Tony Robbins thing. It's not just about, oh, some kind of 401k or a bigger yacht or a better kind of I opened a new division in my company. It's more about it's redemption through work. That'll be like the extreme picture, right, of the so-called culture that she's describing. Would that be a fair assessment that it's about hard work, and it says hard work is a means of getting a certain kind of status, recognition, self-esteem, both internally and externally?
Yeah, I definitely think that's what it's become, the whole hustle culture, or even just hustling in general. It's about uh, yeah, having this identity of, oh, I'm a hustler. I hustle, like I work, 16-hour days every day because I want to get to a certain point. I need to feel fulfilled. I need to feel satisfied with myself. But at the end of the day, people have always hustled to make ends meet. People have always hustled to provide for family. People have always hustled to build a restaurant from the ground up, because that's what their passion is. But to become an idea, being part of hustle culture, as if it's something to, admire, which it is. But I think, well, you see what she says about this before I can make a comment about it.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Sounds like seems like your internet is struggling a little bit there. We need to get you an Ethernet cable there, Joan, and plug you in directly so you stop freezing. And
Oh my gosh.
but anyways, all to the good, all to the good. Let's continue to check this out. So far she's kind of said kind of give us an introduction to the hustle culture, and we have kind of talked about our definition and what we're comfortable with calling it. So let's go ahead and see Wagwan.
And let me tell you why. There was a time when I tried prescribing to hustle culture, especially when I was working at a startup. I had a daily 3-hour commute, and I was trying to optimize all of my time at work and otherwise to not only get shit done, but I guess to hustle. But then, like, the panic attacks came. At first, I thought it was just like one-off instances of panic. But after months and years of therapy, I now realize that through the panic attacks, my brain was sending me warning signals and putting my brain into a state of just like, oh my gosh, I'm literally dying right now. Because that's what panic attacks feel like. And I think it had a lot to do with the fact that I wasn't really truly taking care of myself. Like, hustling to me means that you're ignoring some basic structures of balance between work and not work. And my panic attacks were a result of that balance being way off. AKA, I was not only investing too much time, but also too much energy in my work. So yeah, now I can see that my own personal balance has to be much better than what I was doing. So I thought a lot about how I got there in adopting hustle culture and why it's so common and hyped up in the worlds that I was
adopted
it. Like, what is hustle culture even for? It promises this sort of utopia that we're, I guess, trying to reach, in which our whole self is defined by the work we do. And that's
okay. Let's stop and let me ask you to, or let's try to dwell on something you mentioned earlier, which is the fact that it has always existed. And I talked about redemption through work. I painted perhaps a secular and modern aspect to it. Then, or shall we say, however, there are such things as, if you don't work, you don't eat in the Bible, and so on and so forth. Or in all kinds of traditions, the idea of struggle and meaning being going hand in hand, right? Whether it be the Jordan Petersonian pick up your cross and carry it up the hill, or whatever it may be, or feel the burn, and or David Goggins type of, there is that idea of pushing beyond, out there, reach out there and expanding. That's where the freedom is. That's where the bliss is even. So, could you comment more on that? Because I think you kind of brought that up first, that this thing has always been here. So, because I think that it is key for us to decouple it here, because obviously, we're not here to swallow whole cloth what she's saying, right? We're using it as an opportunity to elucidate the points regarding what exactly this hustle culture is, what exactly this work thing promises to give you versus what it actually gives you. We've talked about certain promises already, right? But does it actually give you these things? But do you believe, let me ask a direct question, therefore, in this more spiritual end of the work thing, right? Do you believe in it? Do you believe in that striving for the perfection that makes you the whatever, and the monk that sits on top of the block of ice?
I think in a spiritual sense, we all are here with a purpose, right? And that's what we're looking for throughout our whole life is, what is my purpose? Why am I here? And I think based on what this chick is talking about, I mean, I don't know too much about her, but I don't think she's found her purpose. So that's why she feels like this isn't for her. Maybe tech is not her purpose, but you can't just generalize like, oh, this is just, hustle culture in general is just bad. It's bad for you. It's toxic. I need to get out of here. And, just based on what she's said so far, I just, do you not see this is what you're getting yourself into? And I'm wondering at the same time, like, okay, were you actually promised this when you were interviewed for this job? Were you promised all these things? And did they actually expect you to work, that much and go, work all those extra hours and do all these extra things for that job? And I mean, I'd like to know, where this is all coming from, because sometimes, you just get so caught up because you think it's a thing. Oh, I have to be part of this hustle culture in order to succeed. But was that something that was expected of you at that job?
Yeah. If you take it back to school, even you may have those kids that are, just burning the midnight oil or burning the candle on both ends, as they say. And the question may be asked, was that necessary? It's like, well, it was necessary for me, to keep the perfect 4.0 so that I can blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, then I guess, that's what you got. If you think it's that important to keep the perfect 4.0 and you're gonna take 10 years off of your life, then it is what it is, right? Okay, so okay, let's continue. Or anything else to add vis-a-vis what you said so far? Because I find it all interesting, because maybe let me just lay my cards on the table with regards to the question that I asked. I think that there is a very important dimension of self mastery, right? That involves always pushing the envelope, because this particular dimension of self mastery has to do with being present, right? So, in the dimension of self mastery that has to do with being present, right? You always have to deal with things anew, and you always have to be looking at things fresh. And therefore, in that presence, there is always the idea of pushing boundaries, of path less traveled, the opportunity and the potential to not go down the well-grooved prejudices, for example, right? That kind of a thing. So in that regard, then yes, the idea of work, hustle, grind, polishing, that stuff, 100% key to our growth in a spiritual sense, right? Like spiritual with a high, like spirit.
Okay. Oh, so okay. Yeah, no, I mean, we can dig deeper in that. Obviously, she's not present with her work, so she's thinking about past and future so much that she can't stay focused in her work. And she's probably, with the panic attack, I'm guessing she has anxiety, so she's thinking about her future. When you have anxiety, that's all like future, fear of the unknown, and all that. So that's probably what's driving her to feel this, discontent, discomfort in her present moment, or if she's even thinking about her present moment. Because when you're present, with your work and what you do, you're just focused on the task in front of you. You're not thinking about the things around it. Not really. I mean, unless you're obviously like analyzing data or whatever. I don't know how that stuff works. I'm not a tech person, but like for me, like I've done work that was annoying, just data entry. I've done office work and stuff like that. But like what got me through the day is just being present with where I am right at this job. And then once I'm done with the job, then I move on for the rest of my day. And I don't carry that burden of that hustling I had to do through that job, throughout the rest of my day outside of that job. So I don't know if that answers your question.
Oh, it's perfect. It's perfectly aligned with, you just said, the whole presence thing, to be present right there. And then let's take it back again to this concept here of dissatisfaction, right? Again, how is it all related here? We're still at just we haven't gone outside of the gate of where we're defining what the hustle culture is. And then we went down to the work, that it is about the work and a redemptive quality to work and a certain kind of importance, work being high there on the totem pole. And then what will work give you? Well, there are certain things which, it gives you the money, but then with that, really psychologically, it is status with the group. It is recognition with the group. and then a certain kind of freedom, if you will. Then there is the question of what is the quality, or shall we say, what is the is that where the redemption actually is, in status, freedom, and money, or is it in something else? But that we haven't gotten there yet. But
Yeah.
the idea that she is dissatisfied. What I always say is people, for example, they say, "Oh, I want to travel," and you're like, "Why?" It's like, and what I'm thinking to about, look, the present moment is always there with you eternally.
Yep.
Whether you're in Bali or here in a cubicle in Los Angeles or stuck in traffic on the 405, right?
Yeah.
So
Totally.
the idea that, oh, I'm going to do this palliative, this kind of topical thing, I'm going to just, it's almost like I'm going to go on an acid trip, okay? Or maybe an acid trip might be even more worthwhile because maybe you may have some kind of spiritual insights or something. Who knows? Like, that may help. But just running, or in other words, change of external circumstances. The change of external circumstances is rarely the problem with deep-seated issues. Okay.
Mhm.
Oh, I just gotta leave, or I just gotta do this. It's like, no, not really. Why did you come into this thing? For example, that's not being analyzed why she came into the tech, into the whatever, and what did she think she was getting out of it, and how it is anyone else's fault that she opted into and volunteered into something. Oh, but
Exactly.
they convinced me, they sold me. It's like, of course, people are supposed to sell you on their idea, right?
Yeah.
There's a kind of a notion that people should just go around not selling. Like, I shouldn't tell you that, my engineering company is the best in the West Coast and in the world. No, it's number one in the world. I mean, you can't say like, oh, but why anyways, you get the point. Point being, she is not going to solve her satisfaction by leaving, whether it be the capitalist or the whatever that it may be. There's a different issue that she needs to tackle there. I don't know if you
Yeah.
have
I mean, she needs to figure out what she wants out of it. Why was she there to begin with? Is she trying to move up the ranks? That's why she hustled so much, but I don't know yet. We'll find out if she reveals that.
The big reveal. Let's see. I didn't think I muted it. Okay.
It's the mark we leave on this planet, not just for society, but for ourselves and our future generations. People also talk about getting out of the rat race, but is doing so actually going to bring happiness? And to that, I say, yeah, for some, probably. For some folks, hustle culture, whether they define it as that or not, is how they've oriented their whole life to be around/about. When I tried to adopt hustle culture, I thought that by hustling, my life was more purposeful. It had a framework to live by. And I also had a reason to live and to go up and get out of bed every morning. But kind of like how I mentioned in my previous video, I feel like I then started to interpret it as, if I'm not hustling, then I'm without a defined reason and purpose to live. So I don't deserve to be happy or just to exist or achieve my dreams. Which, that's some harmful self-talk, I mean, being Japanese and American, I feel like I'm from two cultures that glamorize the out of hustle.
All right. So she said that she's crazy and then immediately blamed Japan and America.
Yeah.
Right? That's what I heard. It's like, oh, I just now I don't feel like if I don't hustle, I don't have a reason to exist. I don't want to be happy, and I want to go back into my mother's womb.
And then she's like,
This
"Oh, that's
must be
harmless
America."
self-talk." That's
Harmless
your
self-talk.
self-talk.
And then she went to Japan and America, two places that glamorize. I don't even know. I don't have to finish the sentence, right? But I'm sure she was. We know what she was about to say, right? Again,
Oh,
with
man.
this externalization, and it's something that we notice a lot, right? In terms of, and now let's get to that list of, shall we say, validation, status, and so on and so forth. These are the external things, okay? So she's saying that, okay, because of the culture and the particular trinkets that this particular culture gives, okay, I'm attracted to this lifestyle, right? The hustle culture is something I can fit in. Woman, tech, I can do this. Okay, I kind of have the personality and the brains for it. I'm going to go in there anyways, and I'm going to get status. I'm going to get recognition. I'm going to get all these other things, right? And I'm going to build my ego bag just completely filled with those things without understanding what the core of my ego bag necessarily is, and maintaining the core and understanding the fluff. And then when my ego explodes in my face, I start talking about, well, culture again. I start saying the United States, Japan, the glorification of capitalism, that kind of a thing. I start talking about what other people told me again. There is something, in other words, there needs to be a recognition to everybody, right? That there is no getting outside of this quandary. How can you ever get outside of this box? In other words, when will she ever start to look within? Again, her so far on this video. I always like saying this because when content creators put stuff out there, I'm not judging her, I'm judging the caricature of what we've just seen so far, right? Because she may be somebody completely different and she's just telling us something that happened when she was crazy. Yeah. Maybe she'll admit she's crazy later on. But anyways, any thoughts on the fact that, okay, hey, I'm crazy. Hey, I filled my ego bag with things that are superfluous at best. And now I'm going to blame also culture and externalities on the problem or for the problem.
Right. I have an issue with, blaming external, because it's really comes with how you perceive your external. She's perceiving her external as bad. It told me to do this. It's like, well, at the end of the day, you're a grown woman. You can make your own decisions about your life. And if she hasn't figured out what she wants, then she's going to continue blame. I mean, it's the same, the same thing. If you don't know what you want, you're going to blame everyone else for your unhappiness. So I think with her, it's easy to do the blame game in culture because, yes, American culture is kind of known for like the working hard, build yourself from the ground up. And from what I heard, Japanese culture is very much the same way too, except maybe a little bit more strict. I don't know. But at the end of the day, you live in America, you can be whatever you want, You don't have to follow your cultural norms. If you're in America, like everybody comes here to be who they want to be. It's why they call it the melting pot.
Okay, so what is the problem then, Joan? What is the problem? Because why? How come it doesn't happen?
Why it doesn't happen? Because she holds on to those things that she believes in. Like, oh, I'm Japanese. I'm Japanese. I mean,
is it possible to move people out of this particular box then?
Of course it is. You just have to realize first. Okay. Yeah, you have to just realize for yourself what you want. Duh.
So now you've gone internal to them again. What I'm saying is, look, they are right now saying this to you. They will continue to say it. There's all kinds of data out there as to why. In other words, they're telling you, they're reporting the data to the contrary, the data that says, I'm crazy, I'm thinking, blah, blah, blah. But they constantly look at it from the outside. And perhaps these types of people. That's why what she's saying does not sound like Greek. In other words, it's within the spectrum of what we may consider normal human behavior, frailties, and so on and so forth. However, what? Well, you know what? Let's just finish listening to her before we delve deeper into this question, because we got two videos, right, to go over. Yeah. Because the idea of it being possible to move people outside of this dream into another dream, right? Outside of this story into another story, I'm very skeptical of, right? I don't see it happening, right? What would it even look like if she started saying things the way you and I are saying things right now? It never works out that way. So that's kind of what I'm saying. As like, wait, Joan, why doesn't it not happen? Because you took a couple of steps up and you started talking about the game theoretical landscape of like, oh, you could do this or you could do that. Oh, I see the options. I see options everywhere.
Right. Well, I mean,
but it's like, okay, but these people don't do it. Go ahead. Defend yourself.
Yeah. I mean, who's she hanging out with? I mean, she probably has all kinds of, the same friends that think the same way. I mean, that's why she's making these videos, because clearly like she's constantly being fed like, this is where you got to be, this is what you got to do. But I mean, I think someone made a comment, right? Like, oh, she's making YouTube videos, or is her social circle is doing so. But yeah, I mean, it might be tough for her to get out of this this career or whatever idea of this hustle culture. I mean, that's kind of why she's making this video, right? It's probably one reason why she went viral, to go talk about this kind of stuff. But hey, make a career about your struggles.
Make a career about them struggles. Okay, so let's continue, ladies and gentlemen. And I think the comment there, would you mind reading the comment that is there? Because I think it adds to the conversation and represents generally what's going on in the chat.
Oh, this one. You go to work and do 9 to 5, work-life balance culture, or you go into work, push yourself to be more driven at work, hustle culture.
So, what do you think about that comment?
Yeah, it sounds like there's two sides to the hustle. Well, not hustle, but like two sides to like going to a job, right? Like when you do a 9 to 5, go do your 9 to 5 and you go home and you're done with your 9 to 5. You don't think about it anymore. But I guess the other comment, the hustle culture, is you go to your job, you work your ass off, and you work more than your 8 hours that's required of you. You work overtime just because you need to prove yourself somehow. Maybe you're trying. Yeah, I mean, that's what it seemed.
Okay,
I think that's what they're talking about.
so okay, fair enough, and we'll address that. Perhaps it may come up again later in terms of because I think that what we're looking for is more of a holistic thing, and I think that hustle culture is the wrong way to go about it holistically. But that the 9 to 5 compartmentalization also does not lead to a wholeness, oneness, most efficient approach, if you will, right? But we shall continue here. Let me go ahead and fair usage.
Hustling and working hard. And from what I've seen from both cultures about hustling and working hard, it just felt like their definition of happiness or their life purpose didn't really align with mine. I just realized that it's just like not really what I aspire to or want to achieve, especially now that I'm older and know myself better now. To go deeper, I feel like part of hustle culture is to make yourself some sort of work machine. And in this effort to automate and optimize your life, there's this need to quantify results, like the need to literally measure everything. Everything from the amount of hours that you've worked, to the ounces of water you've had, to the amount of sleep you get a night. And I think that's because in order to optimize your life, you need to like measure the current state first, I guess. I see this stark parallel in the tech industry, where companies and tech people are constantly measuring things like, are we hitting our metrics? Did we accomplish enough story points this sprint? Is our product/company growing quickly enough? How many people are using this feature, and is it driving up engagement? Even in the content creation world, there's also this sense of needing to measure quantitative results to verify legitimacy. Did enough people watch my videos?
Okay, so how dare the culture, how dare hustling to get quantitative with me, how dare they count the potatoes, how dare they measure the acreage of land, how dare they quantify the fertilizer to place, how dare they know the ounces of X, Y, and Z to put in my drug. In other words, all this quantification stuff, man.
How dare you count my hours of sleep?
How dare you be this phallogocentric patriarchal need to measure everything with the white man's yardstick. I guess is the complaint here.
I know, I'm just waiting for her to say that.
She's gonna say that?
I don't know. No, blame it on patriarchy.
Blame it on patriarchy and the ever-looming phallus that hunts our dreams. So, anything to add to what we've heard so far?
I mean, it's the nature of her work, right? When you work in tech, it's all about numbers. I mean,
okay, well, hold on. Is there any place where things are not quantified? In the restaurant business, things don't get quantified?
I'm sure there. Everything gets quantified. Yeah, everything is.
In your wedding. Okay, let's talk about weddings, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Everything's quantified. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we grab the numbers too. Like, I mean, for us, it's like how when we do outreach, like how much do we need to, send cold emails to before we get this many, responses? I mean, those are things that we look at. We look at, okay, how many gigs do we need to play to meet our monthly goal? Those are all quantifications. I mean, like, it's necessary, so we know what we need to change, what we need to fix, what we need to, adjust. Everything's quantified. I mean,
why would you complain about this? So let's go speculate. Okay, so let's rise up to the mountain and then the cloud. Look up, look down there. I don't know, smoke a pipe with maybe some Native American elder, whatever it is you people do up over there, and and pontificate as to why she would.
She needs some ayahuasca.
She needs to. Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, why would she kind of go on this? All this quantification stuff. Like, in other words, it is true that it is it's almost like saying, hey, I have this really annoying uncle. Okay. Very, very annoying uncle. Why is he annoying? Well, actually, it turns out that he's into human trafficking, right? He's into human trafficking. That's why he's very annoying. But rather than, okay, and this is hypothetical, by the way. No one go start investigating my uncle for human. But rather
Wait, are you serious?
No. It's not true. I'm just saying. I'm saying it's like telling the story, having an uncle that's annoying because they're into human trafficking and they're just a general bad person. But you start talking about, oh, and he uses this particular calendar on iPhone, and he wears these particular shirts, and he's always talking about early to bed, early to rise, and he drinks these tea from England and the part of the patriarchal whatever, and it's like, that's not the problem, okay? That's not the problem with this. And so she's kind of picking up, like, it's almost like picking up apps that this particular problem uses. And in this case, the apps will be measuring and quantification, right? And saying, quantification is so bad, it's so ugly. Look at the glasses that he wears. It's like, no, it's not the glasses. It's not his watch. It's the fact that he's in human trafficking, perhaps, right? But you're gonna tell us, okay, why you think she, right, is in why she would be against quantification. Like, why would speculate as to why would somebody go here with their mind? In other words, we see a running away from the center the whole time. There's never kind of a running towards accountability and, oh, what about what this is crazy that I made this kind of a decision. How did I get fooled in this kind of a way? And so on and so forth. Now, she said she's been in therapy for years and so on and so forth, but that's even another freaking question mark. Being in therapy for years. But why would somebody do this thing with their mind where now they're even going as far as let's tear down quantification. Let's throw shade at quantification for oppressing me.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably all she knows. She's probably been working in tech like ever since she's been able to work.
Okay.
Got
woke. Okay, go ahead.
Did I say no? I didn't say woke. But no, she's probably been working in tech, and so she's trying to find something to blame. Oh, quantitative, they're counting everything that I do and everything that I am. They're counting everything, but that's just the nature of the work. And if that's all she's done ever since she's been able to work out of college, I mean, that's the only thing she can blame. She has a hard time looking like, oh, maybe this is not the work I want to do. Like, she hasn't even really said that. I mean, I don't know. Does she still work in tech? I don't even know, but it's just, yeah. I mean, if that's all she knows, that's all she understands. She doesn't look within. She doesn't know what she really wants, and she wants to blame it on something. And it's like, well, sorry, but like everything is everything uses numbers. Everything is quantitative,
She is running away from accountability. It's even literally demonstrating by her literally running away from accounting and accountability and counting things and being accountable in that way. I mean, it's kind of crazy, right?
Yeah, I mean,
like we see her running away from accountability by not going within, and now she's running away from accountability out there. Like anything that measures and says, "Hey," it's like, no.
I bet she's wondering too, like, I don't know, maybe she's the type to like, oh my God, I'm 28. I don't have a boyfriend yet. Oh my God, I'm 30. I'm not married. I bet she does that too.
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, she's also Japanese. And over there with your culture where, and by the way, not that there's anything wrong with the wisdom of like saying, hey, if you're going to tell a group of people something, because there's always a mistake that outliers make. Outliers on the good side, right? Let's say if you're above average intelligence, you're above average hustle spirit, and you have certain other kinds of privilege that makes it such that you're able to maneuver in the world better than average, right? There's certain rules that you tend to say, nobody needs, I don't need those rules, therefore let's take it away from society. But the idea is, no, you may, look, rules are for the majority, okay? That's kind of how what it's about. That's why it's kind of a rule. And that's how we always allow for outliers and, a statistical distribution, a statistical view of the world, if you will, right? So the idea of, and I say all that to say this. So women marrying early, if you're going to tell the group of women, it's like, hey, get this done early because this is the one with the time limit on it, and you can always do your wedding business or whatever the hell it may be afterwards. That's not a bad thing. But yeah, interesting that it all came to that. But that whole thing of looking at external, shall we say, indices of validation. But let's go ahead and check out the super chats, okay? I think before we forget, okay, Joan, do us the honor of reading the super chat of Snuggles in the building for the $5.
Okay. How can a woman lose in society from something she should have never had in the first place, thinking she needed it, which made her lose? Do you get?
Do you get it?
Do I get it? Yeah, I mean,
I think you do.
I think I do.
Well, tell us, what is Snuggles saying?
It sounds like, okay, so she's, I mean, just from my perspective, that she's trying to compete in something she never had to compete for to begin with. Therefore, she lost anyway.
Yeah, it's almost like you found the end of the rainbow with the freaking golden pot of gold, and then you started playing, dogfight with some other people down the hill on the wrong side of the train tracks that don't really have much reward for you, or that you're not even necessarily into. This whole time you were into the gold, and you're a woman in the West where you don't have to worry about the lower half of Maslow's hierarchy. Shout out to Maslow. That's my, it was only a matter of time if I mentioned Maslow, but it's a good kind of rubric, because once the lower part of Maslow's hierarchy of needs are met, in other words, food, clothing, and shelter, when that's taken care of, people tend to behave very differently, right? Now, in terms of the society that has that. So it's not crazy that these people now are kind of more for like, oh, I want to do something that makes me happy. And it may be the case that it has nothing to do with the workplace. Maybe she just wants some Japanese babies, right? or something like that, which is perfectly fine now that you're in a society that you don't have to work because there's a net that, so on and so forth. But those other women whom are out there, let's say they're in Ethiopia and so on and so forth, no, they're going to be down with the hustle. They're going to go into tech. As I always like to say, like, a lot of Ethiopian women are in engineering, right? They choose to do it. Why? Because they got to hustle. They got to make ends meet. In societies where those particular kinds of ends are generally meet, or you have a floor, a safety net, so on and so forth, other considerations having to do with the higher parts of Maslow's hierarchy, which have to do with, what are they? Self-esteem and recognition and status, these things which we said, right, that we use work and other externalities as indices of. Yeah. Throwing a bunch of technical jargon together, ladies and gentlemen, as we always do. And I think it's Joan's fault.
What?
Jones. Okay, the other super
you're
chat.
The techie one.
Techie? No, I'm just I'm the lead singer. Go ahead.
Oh. Ike and Joan. Shout out to Ike and Joan.
Thank you very much. I believe that's Blind Guy, his wife, their life in the building. I believe that is the case. Okay, so I think that let's continue the video, okay? And I think that we have a clear idea of where we're at, okay? We're clear understanding that this is really in that status validation area, and constantly putting it out there as to why what I was promised, what I felt I was promised, or what tends to happen. Because let me give you a model or a way of looking at this. You know how okay? I have psychoanalyzed you, Joan. I'm going to tell you now. This is mansplaining on level 900. Okay, I say,
okay,
I'm going to tell you how you work. I'm going to tell you how you operate, Joan.
Oh, okay. So, let's see.
So you know how for you can kind of look at when you look at, shall we say, the world. Okay, you look at these parts and pieces and how they might move and how they affect other parts and pieces. Okay, and you kind of look at them in an objective way. And the benefit that comes from various arrangements or various maneuvers based on the different games that you're playing that comes to you are kind of known that, okay, they're based on what you're looking for, what you put in, blah, blah, blah. So you're able to do that. Now, for other people, they see the world of people as that. In other words, if I did these right things, right? I was the teacher's pet, right? And then I went into this place, right? Therefore, how come it's not working? What I'm telling you, Joan, is literally, and I know, you see, I told you, do you disagree with the way how I describe how you work or no?
No, that sounds about right.
Okay, good. Okay, I know what I'm talking about. But anyway, so the idea more is to kind of paint the contrast. So you see what I'm saying is that other people look at, it's called extroverted feeling, like the world of people, okay? They look and what people will bestow upon you and all that kind of stuff. That is where their attention generally is based on. These are the kind of people who will be more like, oh, fairness at the party and can everybody get along? They never quite pay their attention to themselves. They want everybody to do whatever first, and then later they explode like, oh, no, you never pays attention to me. I'm always looking after everybody. It's the same character I'm describing. Okay, that's how they view the world. So it is going to be difficult for them to kind of see the world the way you do. The whole time, Joan, this whole show is a ruse to try to break you free of certain prejudices that you have as a thinker and get into the world of feelers. But anyways, any comment on what I say? And does that make sense? What I just kind of said about, the whole feeler versus thinker thing?
Yeah, I mean, the way you describe the people where it's like, they see themselves as a victim of their environment instead of figuring out, okay, what's about this environment that I like, don't like? Do I have to stay here, or do I, is there something I can do? Okay, well, some things can't change. Well, what do I need to do to change? Can I change my perspective? Can I change my attitude going into work? I mean, there's other things you can do to get through it if that's the kind of work you want to do. But, with this girl, I think she needs to figure out what she really wants to do with her life.
All right. Let it go ahead and play that. Am I on mute? Fair use.
Did enough people click through? Is that click-through rate high enough? Do I have enough subscribers? I mean, measuring quantifiable results is great in that it helps to make sense of the ambiguity in a world where no one really knows what they're doing and we're all kind of making it up as we go. And make sure that we're headed towards the right direction, allows us to easily share context with others, and gives us something to work towards. But in reflecting on all of this, I thought, will reaching some quantifiable goal really give me the life or career that I want? Because if I had to look back on my work as a software engineer and content creator, the stuff that I remember, the stuff that matters, the stuff that really made me feel glad about choosing this path is the qualitative stuff. Each individual story y'all send me about your life and what role my content has played. Every person I was able to meet and work with in the process.
She's quantifying.
I mean? She is quantifying, but now you see, because it is in the realm within which, because you're in the realm of thinking again, so now she's telling you literally that this is what I care about. It's all the people. And something you would never do, Joan. I know you. You can't. Don't pretend and be like, oh no, it's like no. You're a cold person deep down.
Oh yeah, yeah. If you cross me, I cut you out.
Cut you off. So it's interesting that she kind of just, shall we say, validated or gave some more some data points that validate the hypothesis that she is that kind of extroverted feeler type. Everything she's been saying about her life and the way she judges things and why they happen and so on and so forth. And then now she's telling us, oh, what I really care about is, the selfies. And now, look, I'm obviously, I have my own biases with regards to this kind of stuff, okay? When it comes to personality, and again, this show, the review, we talk about whether it be finance or money or Kanye West or pretty privilege or whatever it may be, it is a foil for elucidating aspects of both ourselves as individuals, but also the human condition and psychology, and so on and so forth. Now, when it comes to the idea here of personality, I have a blind spot. In other words, my personality type is the worst when it comes to this FE stuff that I'm talking about, right? And we've known each other for a while, so I'm sure you know that makes sense. In other words,
I know,
I
like
don't
10
do-
years or something, right?
yeah. So I'm not the come. Let's take a picture. Oh, now let's do a silly one. You know, or
Yeah.
all the people and what's it great getting to hang out with? It's like that's not my. And it's not that I'm a social. I like I like to hang out with people and stuff, but it's not in that particular way. So it's a blind spot for me. So I always kind of belittle it, like, oh, it doesn't really matter. But I know it's very important to people, right? This kind of thing, right? Are you prejudiced against this kind of thing too? You're like, oh my god, here comes Becky wanting to take another picture again. Leave me alone, Becky. Or how do you feel about this?
It depends.
It
Depends who, depends on the situation. I mean, come on, like when we used to play all these gigs, I was like, hey, let's take a band picture. That was
Okay.
always me, remember?
Makes sense. Makes sense.
But I didn't, you say like, oh, let's take a funny picture. No, it's just like, hey, let's just take a band picture so we have something on our social media. That's it.
Indeed. Okay, let's continue. Yeah, D, maybe you're onto something. Maybe this show really is all just a big way of mind controlling people into a cult.
The pity party cult.
Unmute. Let's continue. Let's end this.
Creating something. At the end of the day, when it comes to quantitative insights, I'm not going to ignore it completely. Being able to track data that way is a really useful tool in doing business in the 21st century. I mean, after all, I do need to keep tabs on whether people are actually using or watching my stuff. But if I had to balance out which side was more important to me, it would be the qualitative stuff. It's a work in progress as I challenge this position and notion that I've brought with me from the tech industry into my work as a content creator, but I'm constantly reminding myself that it's the qualitative stuff and that more isn't necessarily better. It's quality, it's thoughtfulness, it's intentionality that makes good.
And I don't know, I guess this position just feels very counterculture to hustle culture, where a lot of it is about maxing ourselves out like machines. I said in my previous video that we as a whole human being are not just our work. And our worth isn't/shouldn't be calculated by the things we create, because we all inherently deserve to exist. And
All right. I'm gonna throw up a little bit in my mouth here. All right, lady. I've been nice. I've been holding back. I've been like, oh, but let's, you can't say that. Let's come back down. Like, get the hell out of here with your deserve BS. Right? I don't give a crap when people start talking about deserve. Oh yeah, we deserve to it. We deserve to, like, it is insane to talk about what you deserve in a universe from whence you know not where it came and where it's going or anything about it. And you just make proclamations about what you deserve based on what standard and from whose judging point. In other words, whom is responsible for giving you your desserts, right? Whom exactly is the burden? Is it the universe that's going to conspire? The galaxies are going to conspire to give you what you want? Or is it other people? Again, it's going to be other people, right? Because I know the type. And the fangs are coming out a little bit in terms of other people will have to kind of just give me my validation, It shouldn't be measured. It should not be based on anything. How dare you quantify? How dare you bring all this thinking stuff in? You should just come and kiss me while I hold my coffee.
Well, that's the funny thing. She talks about the qualitative. It was all based on external, like the people that she spends time with, the people that she likes, the people she takes selfies with. That's what she considers the qualitative, but it requires other people validating her existence. So yes, she has to add some fluff at the end, oh, we are all deserving. I mean, she makes a point. Like, I don't really identify with the work I do. I do the work that I do because that's what I like to do. But, I don't, like I used to hold on to this identity that I have to be an LA musician. Therefore, I must live in LA and play music.
What's a LA musician?
I know, right?
Like, you wear bangs even though it's not, cool anymore.
Yeah, they all have to have a denim jacket. They have to wear their black pants. They have to have some cool pair of boots. You can tell, like the moment they walk in, it's like, oh yeah, that's an LA musician. He must play guitar. Like you can tell.
Black pants, denim jacket. Okay. All right.
But it was a thing, the idea, that identity of being an LA musician, having LA residents playing in the LA music scene. People hold on to it. I mean, I got caught up in that at some point. Then I left LA and I'm like, F this. I don't need to be there anymore.
I see. Okay, so she got to me there a little bit. I think I get the story. We're gonna move into something else, which is and how are we doing on time, Joan?
We are 1 hour in and 30 seconds.
1 hour and 30 seconds in, and we continue to plow through this particular topic here about the hustle culture. Okay, people are out there. Young Swift always bragging about how everybody else is lazy, how everybody else is stupid, how everybody else doesn't understand what he understands, how everybody else is not as wise as he is just because he's young. Blah, 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 and how he's got the hustle. Well, are you built for the hustle culture, Young Swift? Are you built? Are you able to reach the threshold of critical, real-time reasoning skills? Okay, fight the emotional hangups, fight the spirits, the evil spirits that tell you what can be done and what cannot be done, the box you're supposed to be in and the box you're not supposed to be in. Can you fight the NPC code, the code, right? The non-player character code. You know about non-player characters, Joan?
Nope.
NPC. You see, you may like that. In video games, you have the characters that you're playing, right? That you can move around, or maybe it's a internet video game. You have people that characters play, and then you have the characters that are played by the computer, if you will, right? They're non-player characters. They're programmed. So there's an idea. Yeah, just call it the Matrix kind of thing, right? Another rehashing of a kind of an idea. It's like, so you call people NPCs, like they're just plugged in. They're just, moving around. They're just their job to do this. They always say the same thing. When you go talk to that guy, whatever, in this RPG game, he always says the same thing. Like, you push this button, he says that thing. Interesting. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and continue with the next one. Okay. The next one. So, any conclusions or anything? Have we come into any new nuances or understandings when it comes to what exactly it is that work gives us and what the trade-offs are? In other words, if you thought that it was about all the status thing and so on and so forth, and you didn't necessarily think it through and you didn't understand what it would take and you did not accurately weigh it, then this might be problematic. I don't know. Before we start the other video, anything to add to that?
Yeah, know what you're getting into. Know what you want. Why are you going to this job? Like, what's your purpose?
What's your purpose? You're gonna go there.
Oh yeah.
What is your purpose?
What is your meaning in life?
So apparently there's an epidemic of Asian ladies making videos about, anti-hustle culture videos about how they quit their job and so on and so forth. What's going on with that, Joan? You want to give us a report from the Asian side of town?
Yes. Well, me being Asian, I can there's, depending on the Asian, actually, I think when it's, I think more on like I don't know, it's like a region.
Mm-hmm.
I think Japanese and Koreans and Chinese, they definitely have more of this, like you got to work hard, work yourself to death kind of attitude. I mean, it's just what I see. I mean, I think Filipino culture is a little bit more relaxed. But they live on an island. It's like island life. But Japan also, they live on an island, so you can't really do the island life kind of thing. But I definitely noticed that within those cultures, they're really all about busting their butts and in doing work that they don't really love to do. I think a lot of times they just do what they're expected from their culture, from their families, especially. I mean, there's definitely, I know Japanese people, like the way they explain things, like to them, it's so important to have a piece of paper, I've had interesting conversations with a Japanese woman about her having a child and all that stuff. It's like, what the heck? But anyway, yeah. So she
play keyboard? I'm just.
Oh yeah, she played. Yeah. No, it's funny. Okay, I'm kind of going off of this hustle topic, but for her, she didn't understand how American cultures glorify, a woman having a baby, Whereas in Japanese culture, they don't care if you're pregnant, because for her, it's like, well, having a baby is so easy. You just have sex and then you have babies. But when, when you working for a degree, that matters to her because she spent years going to school and studying to get this piece of paper. That is more admirable than popping a baby. That was just a really interesting way of putting it because, like I never really think of it that way. But back to the whole Asian thing. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't watch a lot of these videos, and I guess if it seems like it's a thing that Asian women are complaining about their career, I need to investigate that because I mean I'm Asian too. Maybe there's something I don't understand about myself.
Yeah, well, so Asian women will be in those places in technology / math / STEM, if you will, where women are not highly represented, right? There are many areas where women are not highly represented. One of the areas where women can easily kind of just step in if they wanted to will be in that STEM area. And it will be an Asian lady who kind of steps in there first. I think we would all agree. And I can vouch for that being a STEM person in terms of school and undergrad and master's and work life. It's kind of like that. So they're giving their report from the front lines and saying, hey, because again, this is all a recent experiment, the experiment of putting men and women in the workplace while we try to navigate and ignore, perhaps at the same time, our nature and the fact that we have a relatedness that you cannot just remove. When you put a male pilot and a female pilot, a co-pilot, in a cockpit, there's still a male and a female first, right? The uniform doesn't change that. Okay, still a guy and a lady, and he's gonna check her out, and she's gonna check him out, and they're gonna be like, okay, let's see how this goes. You cannot ignore that. And then we've had conversations about that. But anyways, so let's see what her report in particular is.
Oh, hierarchy. Can't hear it.
Oh, I'm sorry, you can't hear it, can you?
No.
Yeah, that was because I can hear it, but it doesn't play it, but never mind, that will be fixed momentarily, ladies and gentlemen. We shall get into this data science, computer science, the report from how us misogynist chauvinists are oppressing the STEM ladies.
So after we all had breakfast and we're mingling,
can you hear it now?
This concept of hierarchy began to form.
Fair use.
How did I end up here? I applied to a lot of software engineering roles, in addition to data science roles, because nobody would interview science. This particular role was a software engineering role, and I got in from doing software engineering interviews. So after I got in, you go through this team matching process and your resume gets circulated throughout the company. And managers would reach out to you to ask you about your interests. This was actually an email that I got from the person that ultimately became my manager. So I basically told him that I wanted to do data science. And he was like, oh, okay, sure. We have terabytes of data that's just kind of like sitting there, so you can come and try to make something out of it. Sounds good. I want to say that Goldman Sachs was also so convincing. As soon as I received my offer, I had multiple people call me, ranging from junior to mid-senior level. They talked about their work, and when I mentioned that I also had an Amazon offer, they were super nice and talked about all the things I could expect if I came to Goldman Sachs instead. And they also asked if they could introduce me to any formal interns, where pretty much like anybody I wanted to talk to about their experience. Compared to my Amazon offer, where at Amazon, literally nobody even responded to me. So clearly, when you compare those two, Goldman Sachs stood out like a star. Okay, so orientation. The internship class of 2019 was huge, and there were around 2,000 interns.
All right. Any thoughts so far? Something that stood out to me was the whole... Anyways, you go ahead and start us off. Well, apparently Amazon didn't answer properly. Goldman Sachs answer. What this sounds like? It sounds like it sounds like Eve talking about how she was lured by the snake Anyways, let's not go harsh real quick. But it's like, oh, I feel there's gonna be a switch here whereby they're gonna turn out to be the bad guys.
I know.
But
yeah, I mean, it's like it already sounds too good to be true, right?
it's like, oh, they called me this and then they told me that and then they told me this. So, but then they expected me to work.
Yeah. Oh my God. Goldman Sachs, like nobody's heard of them.
So, what are your thoughts? Perhaps let's lay out another kind of a thing here. What are your thoughts with regards to the fact that people go in for status, okay, while at the same time bickering against status and measurement and hierarchy? In other words, people want to be on top, but they don't want there to be such a thing as bottom. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. No,
and it's like they don't want to be on top. And they don't want such a thing as bottom. They don't want anything to be unfair.
They
want
equality.
To also be on top. But that's actually what they want. No, they want to be like, look, when somebody and I know you know what I'm saying, but especially with these types of people that when you end up in a Goldman Sachs interview, this is somebody that's been getting into competitions all their life and been loving the winning, getting all the grades, being the first, the smartest person, whatever, right? They go and give me this reward, this reward, this reward. I want to be top of all hierarchies. And then when it gets to something they don't kind of like, or when the rubber meets the road, it's like, oh, what's all this hierarchy stuff?
Yeah. Okay. So kind of backtrack to what you asked, like, what's up with the Asian women, right?
Yeah, what's up with these Asian women?
Yeah.
Explain.
I know, just, I think Asian women in general, I mean, I don't know, maybe every culture is like this, but for sure there is a certain level of competitiveness in Asian women, like amongst their friends, amongst family members. It's something I grew up with too. It's like, hey, who's the tallest cousin? Like there's always some form of competition where you're always being compared to, you're always expected to be better. But even if you turn out to be better, maybe it turned out you lost weight after the time they said, oh, you're getting fat. It's like there's always something that's just not good enough for them. I mean, again, maybe this happens in other cultures too, but for sure it's very prevalent. Like the way I grew up, and I've seen it in other Asian women, hanging out with other Asian women and hearing older Asian women, they're very much like, keeping up with the Joneses. It's like a thing. Very materialistic as well. Like just, status, like all the Asian people, like with status, they have to drive a white BMW or Mercedes, and it has to be white.
There you go. I mean, why not?
Yeah, if you drive into a parking structure and you see a bunch of white cars, you're probably in some kind of like was it Hacienda Heights or like West Covina or something where all the Asians live.
Indeed. Yeah, it all depends on how cool you are with regards to your ostentation. For example, because there's the Arab way of showing off. For example, I think that they tend to be the coolest in terms of the global Olympics of stunting, if you will. And flaunting and showing off. I think the Arabs kind of got it all. They got it on lock with their golden cars and their this and their that and their crazy cities and their, when it comes to just ostentatious wealth and that kind of stuff. But
their cologne there's a cologne that like I noticed, because like I worked in retail, like at somewhere at like Santa Monica, and there was like a summer where like the tourists were still coming, and there was definitely something about like the Arabs when they came in. The wealthy one who did not try to haggle prices, he had a certain cologne, and then his friend, the one that doesn't make as much money, like doesn't wear that cologne. And I asked that question to like somebody before, like, what's up with that cologne? Why do they always smell that way? It's like, oh, that's the cologne that they wear when they're wealthy. It's that specific cologne. And I was like, damn,
that one.
And I started making quantitative, notes. It's like every time they came in, there was always the guy with the money and his friend that, like kind of like his, how's it like the Akeem and Semi, Semi's the guy that doesn't wear that cologne.
Interesting. So you're out there hustling, selling. Let's continue. Let me make sure I have unmute.
Just in North America. The headquarters was 2 buildings, one in New York and one in New Jersey. And it's across this river from each other, and you take a 10-minute ferry ride across. There were actually a lot of days where I was ferrying back and forth between the two buildings. So my internship was in the New York office, but there were people from all over the States, and they flew everybody into New York/New Jersey to attend orientation. I actually dug up the orientation schedule to show you guys. We were in this huge auditorium. I wish I still had the photos that I took, but just imagine we all had this name tag and the division we worked at and our roles, which for me was securities division as a technology summer analyst. It was absolutely breathtaking, and I was just so excited to be there. There were rows and rows of business casual people and fancy food on the sides. We also had these.
Notice what she's paying attention to?
Yeah. The food.
The name tag, the division, the group, the externalities, right?
Yeah.
And
the fancy food.
It's going to be a self-selected people that make these kinds of videos. And then the people like me and you, Joan, are going to be laughing and making videos, laughing at them. But it is interesting to for whomever to watch and learn and see that, the different ways in which human beings pay attention. Okay. Because we all see these things, okay, and they all mean something to us, okay? It all means something to that you are in the particular table and have a name tag, blah, blah, blah. But different people, for them, it's their center versus other people having a center somewhere else, right? And wherever your center tends to be, you want to know what that bias is, and you want to go ahead and make it such that you get away from there so that you can be present, so that you can make real-time judgments about whatever the situation may be, right? So that is the goal. That is the idea of wherever and whenever we may be. Wherever or whenever we may be in these videos talking about this stream or talking about this series of reviews, it's always to notice the ways in which we leave the present. Notice the ways in which we leave the ability to apply wisdom in real time and use real-time critical reasoning skills. Actually observing what we're seeing, asking, why did I do that? How did I do that kind of a thing? From a standpoint of subjective accountability, rather than the whole, I was promised this, and now, the BMW is not just wide enough. It's not wide enough.
Yeah, it's
Senior
off-white.
people welcome us to the internship and talk about the work they did and all the exciting new ventures that Goldman Sachs was leading. I remember feeling just incredibly excited and lucky to be there. Now, with that being said, though, looking back now, I also remember having a pretty vivid memory that turned out to be some high quality foreshadowing. So the first day after we all had breakfast and were mingling, this concept of a hierarchy began to form. I've never done anything in finance before, so I had no idea about this. But after going through these initial conversations, I learned that people in sales and trading and in investment banking had their own orientations, which were quote unquote far fancier and got them more fancy presenters and more fancy activities. I remember thinking, okay, well, I don't really mind since I'm just here to enjoy my internship and I still can't believe that I'm even here. So as orientation continued on and I went to the engineering trainings. By the way, I completely forgot what community teamwork was, but it was in these engineering trainings in the securities overview. This hierarchy concept kind of showed up again. The interns of the securities division were split into two major groups of people. There were these strats and there were the engineers. For those of you that don't know, strats are people who are the ones like modeling risk, writing algorithms, and analyzing data. They are also
Okay, before we get to the part where she buries herself about this, because I think she's probably going to bury herself if she's going down this line, let me tell you why I'm so disappointed, and maybe you can play the good cop. Let me tell you why this is very gross. She starts talking about hierarchy, this bad word. As I said, her crazy is coming out. Trust me, I know.
Yeah.
I dated Asians in community college. I know when their crazy is coming out. I know that look in their eyes.
It's the crazy. Yeah, it's the eyes, right? The crazy eyes. I mean, she has crazy eyes for sure. There's that one movie. What's that one creepy movie where she, like there's that girl, it's like the hair. She looks like that, like that comes out of the walls.
Yep.
Careful, she's gonna pop out of your screen right now.
Pop out.
Anyway.
Yeah. So what's kind of crazy about what she's doing right here is Goldman Sachs. Again, remember what she been doing all her life, getting into these little races to win the award so that she can be in this exclusive places. Being happy with the exclusivity of the nice little name tags in the groups. This is an elite club, right? Again, dancing on top of a pyramid. And then at the same, in other words, stepping on people below, right? She is the 1%, let's say, right? She is super oppressor category right now. If you were to play the card she is playing, it's all gross cards anyways. But so she's holding these I'm oppressed card while standing on top of a pinnacle in terms of exclusivity, probably Ivy League educated, and now going to intern at Goldman Sachs, while talking about hierarchy. The hierarchy. Like, this is why these people are dangerous. Okay, imagine dating her. Okay, and as I said, I've been there before, right? So if you want to bring things down, you want to ask, like, so this kind of person that who actively is doing something that in their mind is a bad thing, but when they do it, it's okay. When I play hierarchy games, it's fine. Well, how dare they tell me anything about the fact that there is I expected that everybody was going to be equal here. I wanted to sit with Eric Schmidt, the CEO of Google, at the same table and talk like, and give him ideas, give him suggestions. It's about inclusion. Anyways, so maybe you could be the good cop here, but because I've already been triggered by the fact that this, first of all, they were talking about deserve before. That triggered me. I'm like, oh my God, here comes with the deserve thing again. And then it is this thing where it's like, oh, hierarchy, so bad. Meanwhile, your whole life, you've been playing this hierarchy dance, glad to be on the top and the golden girl who gets invited to the exclusive club with the name tags.
Sorry, I can't play good cop on this one.
No good cop? You're not going to save your Asian sister over here?
No, I'm not all about, no sisterhood for me here.
No sisterhood. Oh my God. Oh my God.
But there's this thing about respecting the hierarchy, right? And clearly she is already like at the top if she's working for Goldman Sachs. Yes, you're an intern. You're at the bottom of the top part of the hierarchy, so to say. I mean, like, I went to community college, like, like it's some unknown school, and I went to like a CSU of unknown, I don't know, it doesn't compare to like, USC or anything. And it's like, I would not be able to get an internship at Goldman Sachs with a music degree. But, okay, the thing is, like, that's just the way things work, you want to work for Goldman Sachs, like, come on, of course there's hierarchy there. Of course the ones that are at the top of that hierarchy are answer your parties because they probably earned it. They probably, like, there's something that felt like they deserve that. They deserve to have, I mean, I don't know, does she want to attend the fancy party, like, as an intern? Like, is that what she thinks she deserves? But I mean, I don't know. I think it's ridiculous.
Ladies and gentlemen in the chat, let's do something here. D, Rorona, ladies and gentlemen in the chat, go ahead and leave your quick one-sentence definition of or description or explanation as to why hierarchy should exist. In other words, let's talk about that for a second. Because the thing is, we've talked about the disgusting behavior she's displaying, which we recognize in people, which is it's a projection is the worst thing ever, where you're doing something bad, but you only see it out there in the world. It's a very horrible thing to deal with interpersonally, especially for someone like me who doesn't like to deal with any chaos interpersonally or with people in general. Anyways, let's talk about what this particular thing is here, hierarchy. Hierarchy, I would say, the moment you decide to do anything, you're already getting into the world of hierarchy. Why? Because you've chosen that thing is to be done at the exclusion of other things, right? So there must be a system whereby this thing was important. In other words, a prioritization, a thing that says, hey, seek ye first the kingdom of God, if that's the most important thing to you. Or first of all, you always make sure you have water, whatever it may be. If you're going to, or we should go north first. You need a rubric, a system that says what's important, right? If you're going to do anything. Fair so far, would you say?
Yeah, I mean, with everything, there has to be a system. There has to be the leader and there has to be the follower. There has to be the boss. There has to be the order takers. It's just the way things work. I mean, even with
the way things work, you would say. You're like, okay, but the people, okay, because you're in there, you're looking at the mechanisms again, and the people are like, yeah, but it's not fair. And I'm saying, well, we could help them by saying, look, there is no way you can do anything without first of all having a hierarchy, and the first hierarchy being that by which you choose what to do, right? That just to say, well, we should go hunt. That is already putting hunting or survival at some kind of height in the totem pole. And therefore, here's what flows from there, because that was just the first, shall we say, premise of this abstraction. The second thing that immediately follows from there is that there are going to be a better and worse ways of hunting, right? Immediately, you then choose that goal. Let's go from point A to point B. There are going to be better and worse ways of getting from point A to point B. It is not the case that snaking for miles and miles, this way and that way, zigzagging, right, to get to point B is the best way, right? No, it's not the best way. Therefore, that's then low on the totem pole. And if you think that if you come with that idea, then okay, well, I guess you're not built for this job of leading us to point B, right? You're not the guy for the job, okay? It's okay. It's okay. You know, put on your helmet and Godspeed. There's a joke in there in the helmet, but now I ruined it by explaining it. Anyways, so this idea here of you're going to choose something, therefore you have a rubric of choosing, which is hierarchical in nature, and then you're going to go there. Therefore, there's a better way of doing it, and a worse way, another hierarchy. Better and worse people at doing that thing, another hierarchy. Hierarchies in terms of modalities of operation, whereby one person has to be in front to see and then direct a bigger mass of people behind them, just as a simple modality of operation, right? The whole that's how things work kind of thing. In other words, is there a way for her to escape hierarchy is the question that is being posed. And yeah, you're doing your light adjustment. Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, I think so, right? Is
adjusting your light?
Yeah,
yeah, it's about that time. And like the Asian ladies in Hacienda Heights with their white hats that cover, and the BMWs with the shade, right? It's got to have the shade because they can't get tan, right? It's got to have the shade on them.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's you're looked down on if you have a tan. If you're an Asian, you know, with a tan, oh man, you're a plantation worker.
You're a plantation worker. Okay, so let's continue here real quick. I got triggered. You could not play good cop. Let's see what else she's got for us.
The ones that sat the closest to the trading tables. And as I later learned, apparently, the closer you are to the trading table, the more prestigious it is.
Ooh,
so I guess like, the most
table.
prestigious would be the trading people, and then it would be the strats. I was doing data science, which kind of sounds more like a strat role, but I was technically part of the engineering group since I interviewed as an engineer. But anyways, these two groups of people began to form because it was plain as day that the strats got more trainings, got more prestigious people talking to them, and were invited to attend more events like dinners and talks. So at this point, I was like getting these bad vibes, you know? Like if you've ever been in a situation where there's clearly a hierarchy, it kind of feels shitty being at a bottom because you can just, you know, sense that. And honestly, I feel like even if you're higher up, the vibe is probably just to always like climb higher. And even if you're at the top, it's always about prestige. You get what I mean?
Oh my god.
This bitch. Yeah, I'm getting there, dude.
Yeah, no, she couldn't have the prestigious pizza. She doesn't deserve prestigious pizza.
And then everybody just gets judged. Like, oh, those people up there, even they're probably a bad people. In other words,
they're all bad. They're horrible.
You know why she's saying that? Because she's a bad person.
Yeah, she's a bad person. She has to work her way up. She doesn't want to work her way up. Yeah, she doesn't want to compete.
She is a bad person. And when people project and they project bad things on people like that, always like, oh, in other words, she knows that if she was up there, she would be just a rotten person. Like, everyone's better. I'm better than everybody. So she thinks that everybody who is higher up, in other words, we have decided to go to point B. Okay. Anyone who's better at going to point B, anyone who therefore is listened to and followed has become a leader with regards to getting to point B, therefore, is just a bad person. Because they're probably over there thinking, oh, I'm better than everybody. Right? This is exhibit A for bad person, ladies and gentlemen. This kind of projection where they're doing the thing. The lady prior was a little bit more like, I don't really know what's going on, and I just want hippie love and people to give me the whatever. This one is out here climbing people's heads and to climb to the top. And if she feels at any point in time that she's not at the top, she wants to break everything and talk about how everyone else is bad. But her.
She doesn't feel included. They're not all inclusive.
Does she include the people that she's climbed to get to this point?
Hell no.
Does she go to be like, oh, but how come everyone from all the schools and all the backgrounds are not here with us. Why is this Goldman Sachs not just a global communist utopia?
Oh man.
No,
That's
it's
not-
always
that's-
it's my personal exclusive club where I get to feel better than everybody else, but never under anybody else.
Let's not get into communism here. But yes.
It's no, look, man, it's I don't know. How are we doing on time there, Joan?
We're an hour and a half. Oh man. Yeah.
Or an hour and a half, which is right about that time where it's like where we tend to want to keep it start wrapping things up. We'll play a little bit more of this, but like, let me just do a quick recap, okay, as to what we're talking about here. We're saying, okay, hustle culture, what is it? Right? We talk about the fact that it has to do with work and has to do with a certain kind of reverence for work, not just for the external things that it'll get you, such as money and so on and so forth, but a certain kind of redemption, a redemptive quality, a spiritual growth, a healing, a wholeness as a result of work. We talked about the fact that this is ubiquitous across various structures, spiritual structures, and so on and so forth, right? That there's a certain kind of interpretation through which you can look at a certain kind of striving and so on and so forth as a integral part of your overall growth. And I say, yeah, I kind of dig that. I agree with that. Plus, over here, we talk, generally speaking, about that 16-hour stuff and so on and so forth. I'm an exemplar of the hustle culture. Okay, but what do you actually get out of work? Okay, is it really this satisfaction and validation and status? And what is the quality of these things compared to the, shall we say, the trade-offs, the sacrifices that you'll have to put in, right? So let me ask now, because ultimately, here's what I go towards. I say, if the work is not worthwhile in and of itself, in other words, what I mean, I don't mean what you're doing. I mean work in and of itself.
Mm-hmm.
If work in and of itself, if the ability to be presently engaged with an activity, right, of a sort that leads to goods being produced, then you will never quite get the mark here, because the sacrifice that work takes is never quite worth the reward of status and so on and so forth. Why? Because those rewards are fleeting. It's not because status can't be great for one night when you're the queen, right, of the ball, right? But that's going to get old, right?
Yeah.
So the idea of externally seeking this kind of validation and so on and so forth, where in whichever place it may be, is the core of the issue. And if work does not have the intrinsic value in and of itself, but rather it's a means to an end, this end being happiness, vaguely defined, then you're going to have a problem. That is what I'm placing on the table. Any comment on that? And then, we'll watch a little bit more and then wrap it up. But the idea that, look, this work, you have to find intrinsic value in the work itself. You have to find intrinsic peace with the work itself. I think the path to do that is by going present, because work requires presence. Presence requires work. Presence is where the peace is anyways. You need those two together. And that's why, by the way, I agree with the fact that it's a very integral part to self-development. It's kind of a work thing, but that everything else is going to miss the mark, right? Any thoughts?
Right. Well, we all have taken on jobs that we don't really like, or we don't feel fulfilled, or we haven't found the happiness because of this job. But the thing is, going back to the whole present moment, being present with what you do, no matter what it is you do, is, looking for that purpose now. Because when it comes to finding purpose, your purpose is always going to change. Your purpose, like right now, might be doing this. Your purpose 5 years down the line might be something else, and I think you're going to this internship, this job, join this company because you felt like, oh, you want to belong to this kind of company that has this kind of purpose and all that. And then you get into it, and then all of a sudden it's not what you imagined, or you saw an aspect you didn't like. But at the end of the day, you're at this job, what are you going to do? Either you leave the job or you keep going for it and you find purpose with it. Like my purpose is to do this task, like I have this skill, I have this talent. My purpose is to share this with this company so that I can help this company grow. Whatever it is, if you're present, you can find purpose with no matter what it is you do. I mean, I used to sell clothes. I found purpose in like dressing up people who don't know how to dress. It's like there's something you can always find purpose in, and I think like while I was building up these businesses in that, my business right now, I had to have other jobs because it's like, okay, the purpose for these jobs is because I need to make money while I build my business. So again, I think it always comes down to like the purpose, right? Like, why am I here? Why did I join this company? Like find purpose there. Like who cares about all the other stuff, like all those external things, that, prestige. I mean, that's just an external validation, that like, oh, she's complaining about prestige. Oh, was it because you want to feel prestigious as well? Prestige isn't going to last you forever. That feeling of prestige is, like it'll feel good for one moment, then later on you're going to find something else that's more prestigious than your prestige.
So this is you see, there are certain things that are broadly demarcated out there in terms of the landscape of things to watch out for. I think we'll, just gonna have our final banter now and land this plane. I think we know, like, okay, I think we get what's going on here with these crazy ladies. I would say the second one more. Yeah, the first one, okay, maybe I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm just biased or something. So the whole idea of how people like this come to be and how you should avoid them is my main thing. Because I don't think that they can be changed. If I go back to the point of a question that I asked you before, I don't think that you can bring this person who just kind of who literally in front of you did this operation, because it's not a small operation what she just did. The operation to generate the logic of I climb hierarchies, but the moment I feel like I am not at the top and at any point, I judge the whole hierarchy and I judge everybody above me, below, and so on and so forth. I become pissy about it, and I don't even have the eyes to see what I'm doing. That this is crazy. That there are more people out there like this than not. Let me put it to you. Majority of human beings are actually this person. Would you disagree with that?
I totally agree. Yeah, no, it's unfortunate, but I guess, the more people are surrounded by the same minds, I mean, unless she has some kind of enlightenment from some outside person, but I think it's unfortunate. A lot of people go through their whole lives thinking this way, being the victim of their circumstances, of their environment. But yeah,
while victimizing the hell out of everybody around them.
Oh, yeah.
Being a general terror to be around too. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if I ran into her and I told her this, she's gonna think I'm crazy.
Yeah. And you can tell she's not fun to be around. Like it's that same character, not fun to be around. Always stepping on everybody, and then gets all offended when anything even comes close to her, not feeling like she's the queen or something. Start talking about all kinds of reasons why. It was the Japanese culture, it was this, it was that, it was, this hierarchy feels crappy, and it's like very entitled without any accountability or anything. It's almost like, as they say over here in the States, the light is on, but there's nobody home, or the light is off and someone's home but they're sleeping, or whatever it may be. Is that kind of idea of just a total lack of somebody there that takes any accountability. The feeling that the world owes you something and that every other thing external to you is an object. People who listen to this right now maybe think I'm capping. Shout out to D for the super chat. Very, very generous of you. Says thank you, Ike Joan. Thank you to D. People may think that I'm lying about when I say that majority of people are actually like this, or that it is this kind of crazy in terms of what they actually go through, the process. No, this is the process. The process of everybody else is an object for my benefit. And the thing is, they're not lucid enough to state it the way I just stated it. They're going to state it by goalpost shifting of all kind, right? Like, oh, but no, it's this. Oh, but now this is the rubric. Oh, but now I'm judging it with my emotions. Oh, but now I'm judging it with logic. Oh, but now I'm judging just based on how I feel and what I deserve. Oh, now, but it doesn't matter anymore. Oh, but I play hierarchy games and I step on people. Oh, but now we can't play hierarchy anymore. Oh, but how dare you make me feel like it's just ridiculous. Most people are like this, ladies and gentlemen, out there in the world. And that should give you pause, okay? and it should give you a certain level of and that's why I like to stay down here in on the ground level, Joan, in terms of like, because if you go up and you spiritualize and talk about certain things in a certain way, it may sound good, but really all the chaos is down here, and I think there's much is inevitable down here in terms of saving people. Okay. Mm-hmm. In other words, whomever it is, the 15% of people whom can even recognize the pattern and then also say that, okay, that they actively try to keep themselves out of that pattern and they can recognize it in other people, 15% max, perhaps maybe 5% really actively can move. Again, I'm putting my cards on the table. I'm an elitist right now. I'm being my elitist self. That perhaps only 2% of people at the end of the day will have complete freedom in these have these degrees of freedom to be able to see that game clearly that you keep on talking about. Oh, I'll just do this, or I'll change this option. Oh, if I lost my pretty privilege here, then I'll just do this and that. Like blah 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 blah. Because when you can go to the mountaintop, talk about the spiritual complementarity of everything, and the oneness and the blah blah blah, and then see how the ego comes to be and how it could be dissolved, all that kind of stuff. When you're able to do all that, you need to clearly realize that you're in a very small fraction of the population. And that's why most people around you are of this particular dangerous variety, and they will destroy you. Okay? Keep them away. Anyways, final thoughts.
Yes. Respect the hierarchy. Every part of the hierarchy has its purpose, but you can also work your way up. You know, just got to figure out what drives you, what your purpose is, and then what you want. You can work your way up.
Better job on the lighting this time, Joan. I think you're working your way up. You're working your way up, ladies.
I'm working on my tech skills, you know, like these.
Working on the tech skills. But anyways, until next time, ladies and gentlemen, where we come and we will bring another piece of popular culture, another artifact from out there that we will review as a foil for elucidating human nature and also for leveling up. How can we level up our skills to become more present, real-time, critical reasoning, applying machines out there in the world, and not be the 98% of people who are out there just blaming everybody else completely in blame dynamics, delusions, unaccountability, and a circle for the rest of their lives of feeling entitled and feeling that everybody else that they met in their life was a schmuck for them, right? This is the story of human beings, generally speaking. And hopefully you don't turn out to be one of those. And that's why you should join my cult. Oh, did I say that out loud? Did I say that out loud?
What's
Peace.
your
We're
name?
out. Oh, the cult's name?
Yeah. Come on. You can't just leave without telling us your cult name.
Oh, we shall talk about that next time, Joan.
Okay, fine.
We shall talk about that next time.
All right.
In the den of iniquity, vicinity no pretty, calamity fi hit we any moment, what a pity. Tomorrow never certain, what was behind the curtain, the face of evil smirking with the shifty eyes averting. It's not a steady bubble, that either pop or topple, many will fall and stumble, let the dozers gather rubble. From LA to Colorado, Guinea to Burkina Faso, cannons could reach the towers and the troops will storm the castle. I say, run, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. So run, run, come, make me get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. I say, run, run, come, make me get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. Lord, run, run, come, make me get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. With the rubble steady rising, and hearts are compromising. Convictions here are stifling, making evil appetizing. The fists are steady forming, and countenance is falling. Defenses are withdrawing, possibilities are falling. In these circumstances, evil will make advances. Pick up your sword and lances, and be sure to take your stances. Victory is never promised, the battle is upon us. Gather the brave and honest, and the righteous in your corners.